Hey everybody, Brian Zane here with J Biggs, and as is our new tradition now during these Big Four pay-per-views, it's time for our Royal Rumble predictions. We're going to give you our thoughts and predictions about every match in this Sunday's pay-per-view card, match by match. Beginning with the pre-show, the Raw Tag Team Championships are on the line as CESARO and SHEAMUS defend against Anderson and Gallows, and not one, but two referees are going to be assigned to this match due to all the kerfuffle from the Dusty finish a couple weeks ago. Biggs, what are your thoughts on this match?
Well, you know, they've built both teams pretty well recently, but I will say this. New Day, you know, holding on to the belts as long as they did, and then for Sheamus and Cesaro to just come in there and you know, win the belts, I highly doubt they're going to take them off them this quick. So my prediction for this match, obviously, is that Sheamus and Cesaro will go over eventually.
See, I'm of two minds on it because I agree. I think that after all the time, you know, after the big moment of Cesaro and Sheamus taking the belts off the New Day, it would be silly for the reign to only last a couple of months. Right. I mean, nothing says that you have to have the belts on them for that long or past a certain point to even come close. But at the same time, it's like I do think it would be weird to have them take the belts off this soon. At the same time, though, Anderson and Gallows have looked very strong, and if they're not going to win the belts now, I don't know when they're going to win. Against my better judgment, I will agree with you. I will say that the two referee thing is going to be involved in the finish somehow. That's why they're there in the first place. Right. Something wonky is going to happen with the refereeing, but yes, in the end, Cesaro and Sheamus will retain. Moving on to the second advertised pre-show match of the night. A lot can change between now when we recorded this and Sunday, but as of right now, it's just two matches. And this one is Nia Jax versus Sasha Banks. I understand what they're doing with Nia at this point because she was getting kind of involved in the Bayley Charlotte stuff originally when she was like fighting for number one contendership and still kind of like helping out Charlotte. But now she's like squarely focused on Sasha Banks, who still has the injury from Roadblock and everything, the injury.
I don't think it's going to be like this huge go over on Nia Jax by Sasha Banks because from what I understand, the build-up is a four-women match at Mania between the four. So, you know, I'm not sure how that's going to go. I also heard rumors of there being a Sasha Banks, Stephanie McMahon, very Daniel Bryan-esque WrestleMania 30 storyline building too.
Well, yeah, because you saw on Raw a couple of weeks ago, there was a segment where Stephanie was kind of cutting the figurative balls off of Sasha and Bayley. So that could be the seeds being planted for something. I, for one, would, you know, if I never see Stephanie McMahon in a high-profile angle again, it will be too soon. I do think this is going to be, you know, a good competitive match. Sasha is going to be fighting. She's going to be selling her knee. But at the end of the day, I do think Nia Jax is going to win.
And watch, and I'll go ahead and say that too, but this time next year we'll be talking about that romantic relationship between Braun Strowman and Nia Jax that's just a complete comedy relief on Raw.
Right.
Anyways.
It's going to be a huge power couple, like you've never seen before. Moving on to the six-woman tag team match that was just signed as of this past SmackDown. It's going to be Alexa Bliss, the returning Mickie James, and Natalya taking on Becky Lynch, Naomi, and Nikki Bella. What are your thoughts about Mickie James coming back in the first place?
I think that's awesome. I think she was needed on SmackDown. I was glad to see her in Asuka and NXT.
Right, that was a good match.
TakeOver, that was a great match, you know. And Mickie James is she's kept up with it. She doesn't look like she's lost a step. She kind of looks the same. Even it's funny.
She's aged very well.
Yes, she has definitely aged very well. I'll say this much: usually when I hear there's a six-women match, I'm not too excited. This one actually, if you think about who they've placed and where, it actually has some. I mean, there's some decent competitors in there where we can have a really good match.
Well, yeah, because I
really feel that.
And what I'm seeing with this is you're getting a lot of different storylines kind of converging on one thing. Like Naomi, she's just right back into it, so really she's kind of new to it. But you've got the Natalya Nikki Bella thing that's been going on, and they haven't tried to have a blow off with that match in singles capacity yet.
Right.
So they're being incorporated into this. You got Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss / Mickie James. You have Naomi versus Alexa Bliss, as what we saw during SmackDown on Tuesday. Right now you've got a lot of different kind of spices going on here in this six-man. So I'm not saying six-woman, I should say. I predict the heels are going to win because I think at this point to have Mickie James come back with this big fanfare and to be on a losing team, I don't think it's going to jive well, especially with the women's champion on that team. So either Natalya takes the fall, and I don't think it's going to happen either, or the heels win. I'm going to say the heels win.
I would say heels win too.
Cruiserweight Championship match as Rich Swann defends against the King of the Cruiserweights, or as Rich Swann would say, a jester, Neville. Do you take the belt off Rich Swann this soon? Because I thought it was kind of surprising that he beat Kendrick for the belt in the first place. Yeah. So I wonder if he's just a placeholder for Neville, who is a much, I think, comparing the two, Neville's a much more established star.
Yes.
Because he's been around for longer on the main roster. So for him to come, swoop in, and claim the belt, but it almost seems too reminiscent of when Kendrick beat TJ Perkins. You know, it's like face wins and yay, and then like the first heel challenger they get, they lose the belt. I don't know if I want to see that again so soon, so to speak, you know?
I think at this point, I would have to say that I think that the Rich Swann so far has done a great job, but Neville is who they're kind of building towards right now.
They're putting a lot of emphasis on him right now.
Yeah, they are, a lot. And here's the thing, I'll be honest with you, when he was Pac in the Indies before he, he's the man who gravity forgot, they're pushing that now, that's great. But I never felt like the face Neville that I saw these excellent matches that were like, oh my God, gravity defied. The only thing I ever saw in him was the pew, red arrow. Honestly, that's it. Like everything else was like, okay, that's other cruiserweight stuff. I want to see something. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, I'm over here. What do I want? 880s from him or something? I don't know.
Well, and we'll say the most interesting Neville got to me from a character perspective in NXT was right near the end of his time there when he was the NXT champion. He was kind of bordering on tweener, kind of heel thing with Sami Zayn. Like that was actually kind of compelling stuff. Right. And then he became, white meat babyface on the main roster. Didn't talk a lot, just flipped and dipped and stuff like that. Right. And now he's a heel. He has a lot more personality. He just has a chip on his shoulder. He's mad. He doesn't care who knows it. And so I think this is very compelling stuff from Neville. I'm just going to, I am going to say Neville wins and becomes the new Cruiserweight champion.
I'm going to go ahead and go with that as well. Neville is the new 205 Live Cruiserweight champ.
The Raw Women's Championship, Charlotte, the queen of pay-per-views, defending against Bayley. I don't know what her nickname would be. The Mega Fan? I don't know. And that's not disparaging. I'm just saying that's kind of how she's being built right now.
Right, yeah, the hugger. My personal opinion is that obviously eventually Bayley's connecting well. I think that was the major concern with folks is that gimmick would not transfer over well from NXT to WWE.
And for a while, you were right. It did not connect well.
For a few weeks.
There was a learning curve.
Right, there absolutely was. But I think it's finally starting to connect. Just watching my daughter watch her is like, my daughter's 10. Mm-hmm. She doesn't watch the product regularly, but when she watches Bayley, she's like, oh, there's Bayley and the hugs and the things that fly up and go like this.
Right, she's a great ambassador for the brand and what they try to project. I do think that Charlotte is going to retain, keep the pay-per-view streak going alive, and then finally WrestleMania, no matter what happens in what they do to defend it, she will drop it dead. So I say Charlotte wins.
All right, me too.
The overbooked Universal Championship match. You've got Roman Reigns taking on the champion Kevin Owens. Chris Jericho's going to be in a shark cage. It's no DQ, a partridge in a pear tree. Biggs, what's going to happen with this match?
I'm torn, man. I don't know. Here's the thing. Had Chris Jericho not won the belt, my initial thought was going to be that Kevin Owens would retain and that Chris Jericho would win the Rumble, and that would lead to them maybe having that match at Mania, the dissension and the tear between them for the title shot. But now with him being the champ, with Jericho beating Reigns for the U.S. title, I don't really see him winning the Rumble as the U.S. champion.
Here's the thing, and I said this before a couple weeks ago with the cage match with Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, that when you have a stipulation match that is specifically made to right a wrong, in the case of this match, it was like to prevent interference and stuff,
right?
The wrong is going to happen anyway. They keep saying, Jericho can't interfere. When he's in the shark cage, he can't interfere. He can't interfere. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to drop a chain,
brass knuckles or something. Yeah.
He's going to do something. Like in the history of shark cages being implemented, even as recently as NXT TakeOver when the Authors of Pain and TM61 fought, and Paul Ellering was up in the cage. Even Paul Ellering did something. And like with Chyna when she was in the shark cage, with Triple H and Owen Hart, she did something. It's like the shark cage is the most ineffective way to prevent interference in the history of wrestling. And some people say, we'll get to this a little later, some people say that Rollins is going to interfere and cost Owens the belt just to stick it to Triple H. I don't think that's going to happen. I still think that Kevin Owens is going to retain due to the chicanery from the shark cage, because why the hell have Chris Jericho in the cage in the first place if he's not going to do something?
Right. I'll say at this point just one statement. Have we ever seen a Superman punch with brass knucks before?
Ooh. WWE Championship match on the line as the champ that runs the camp, AJ Styles, defends against John Cena. This match I'm really excited for, and really it could go either way, and I would be pleased with the result because we've seen this match for them a couple of times before at Money in the Bank.
Right, we were there for that.
Yeah, right, we were there for that. SummerSlam was an even better match than that, and so I'm really excited to see how Part 3 will go.
I actually thought that Undertaker was going to wrestle AJ Styles at Royal Rumble, and then we were going to see Cena or possibly Chris Jericho win the Rumble itself, and then get that big 16 maybe at WrestleMania or something. But obviously Vince now has said, okay, we're not doing the
it sounds like Cena Taker's off the table.
It sounds like it, but you never know.
I do think this match is quite possibly, Rumble match excluded, this match above all else is going to steal the show because nothing else on the card really screams out match of the night to me. But when you've got guys, the work rate of AJ Styles and John Cena, we've seen they have great chemistry together. You and I saw the house show at the Night After No Mercy. They were great then. They were great at No Mercy as well. And so it's, I do think it's going to be the match of the night, not including the Rumble. and it could be a better match than the Rumble. We don't know. But I say, and because Styles won the previous 2 one-on-one encounters, I do think Cena is going to win at the Rumble in this match here. That's my thought. And like, you know, I would be surprised if Styles did win and just kind of clean sweeped John Cena in singles action. But I do think that for the purpose of building toward WrestleMania, then Cena will be champion going to Mania. It could be a thing where Cena puts the exclamation point on his return and his kind of tweener character now we're starting to see. He's got the basic Thugonomics voice kind of creeping back into his promos now. It's like, is this the heel turn we've all wanted for like a decade? Right. I don't know if we're going to go that far, but it's definitely a more edgier Cena is what I'm seeing here. I can see the edge on John Cena, and so I do think he is going to win.
I'm going to go with Styles retaining.
Okay.
I'm going to go with that.
All right. Time now for our thoughts on the Royal Rumble match. In my estimation, this is not only the most stacked Rumble match I've seen in quite some time, it's also the most difficult to predict I've seen in quite some time. I think the last time it was hard for me to predict a winner was the year Edge won, which I believe was 2010. I could be wrong. But then beyond that, it was like 2001. I think 2001, before this, was like the most stacked, toughest to predict Rumble match because you had a bunch of guys who all had a valid reason for winning it. You could logically make the case that like up to 6 or 7 people could win the thing. And I feel like we're seeing that again this year in the Rumble match. So the first question here is, now obviously one of the biggest things about the Rumble match that we all look forward to every year before our hopes and dreams are ultimately crushed is the fun and novelty of the surprise entrance. That's the biggest thing now, is everyone's trying to pick who's going to come back, who's going to debut. What kind of names are you predicting for surprise entrance this year?
Tatanka.
You think Tatanka?
No, I'm just joking.
He was the owner of the Giant Battle Royal, last year. Anything's possible.
It's so random. It's like he hasn't wrestled in 20 years, but let's go ahead and throw him in front of 103,000.
Let's dust him off, and he'll good to go.
But no, you know what? I think Samoa Joe is a good one there.
I feel the strongest about Samoa Joe coming in. I think it makes all the sense in the world. He's done all he can do in NXT. Let old Shinsuke have his time, with the main event scene on that show right now. I think Samoa Joe's going to come in. But then here's the thing. And I'm totally fine with the Rumble being the show where people make surprise debuts and surprise returns. But I feel you can only cap it off at 2 people. Last year was AJ Styles, and that was great. This year, you have the potential of having Samoa Joe, Finn Balor coming back, possibly Kenny Omega, not to mention who else could we
Kurt Angle. Is that possible?
People want Kurt Angle. I don't think it's going to happen, but here's the thing. You've got all these people who are coming as surprises. Not only, the more people you have making surprise appearances at the Rumble, not only is it going to severely diminish the return of each pop, it's like, oh my god, all these big names, and that's the then what? Then what do all these people do? What's going to happen with Seth Rollins? Do you think he's going to interfere in the Universal Championship match? I've heard rumors, I've heard predictions and fantasy booking from people on the internet who say what they want to see happen is Triple H show up as an entrant in the Rumble match, which I don't agree with, and he comes in, and then Rollins immediately jumps him and eliminates him, and that continues their feud.
Good question. I think they're going to still finagle a way for him to get into the Royal Rumble somehow. I think Foley maybe pulls it out or something. There's got to be, I can't imagine them leaving somebody of Rollins' caliber off the pay-per-view completely, let alone not in just the 30-man Battle Royal or Royal Rumble.
I don't agree with the Triple H thing, because last year there was a reason for him to be in the Royal Rumble match. That was to take the belt off of Roman Reigns. Now, 1 year later, what would the purpose be? Because it's not like a guaranteed title victory like last year. Now it's like you got to have one more match at WrestleMania, and Triple H is going to get it anyway because he owns the place practically. He can book whatever he wants. I do think Rollins is going to get involved somehow. I don't know if he's going to jump somebody and take their spot in the Rumble match. I don't know if he's just going to cause chaos in that, or if he's going to interfere in the Reigns-Owens matchup. Now, not everyone can win the Rumble match. Statistically speaking, only one person can, but traditionally the Rumble match is a good avenue for wrestlers to really get a chance to shine, either eliminating a lot of people, looking especially devastating, or people who stay in there for a very, very long time, like Iron Man stuff. So my question to you, Biggs, is who do you think is not going to win, but who's going to look very good in this Rumble match?
The first name that comes to mind when I think of that would be Braun Strowman, possibly. Yeah. He's got to look big and good in this. He's going to have to.
I think Cesaro is going to be the Iron Man. That's my prediction. He's going to be the Iron Man of this Rumble match this year. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he was number 1. That's kind of my little prediction. He's going to be number 1. Maybe Sheamus goes number 2.
Right. Actually, that would be. Are we going to get a Kofi spot?
Yeah, we got to get a Kofi spot. That's in his contract now. He's got to have a very fantastic escape. I think that, yeah, Cesaro's going to look good. I think The Miz usually looks good in these matches. Baron Corbin and Strowman, they're kind of two sides of the same coin of like big dudes who like to hurt people. So I think they're each going to, they might have a stare down, you know, that's going to get a pop. They might point at the sign, who knows. Sami Zayn actually is another one. Yeah, the fact that Sami Zayn won his spot in the match in such a high profile match leads me to believe that he's going to do something worthwhile in the Rumble match itself.
Absolutely. He might even be the guy who eliminates Braun Strowman.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I would pop for that. All right, now, Biggs, the big question, who do you got for your final four, and who's going to win the Royal Rumble?
Oh, man, this is tough. As you've mentioned, and I've mentioned so many times in this video, it is very tough this year. Final four, I'd say obviously Goldberg and Lesnar look very strong. They did the tease on Monday night with The Undertaker being in the ring. Jericho obviously looks strong to maybe be in that final four with them. You know, so I would say at least my final three would probably be like Goldberg, Lesnar, and Undertaker. Okay. Maybe add somebody else in there like a Randy Orton.
Yeah. Okay, who do you think's gonna win?
Okay, I'm gonna go with The Undertaker just because it just. Has he ever won a Royal Rumble?
Yeah, he won, I forget what year, but he definitely won the Rumble.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. It was in the 2000s. So yeah, he did win a Rumble, but at this point, I mean, it just seems like if we're going to use him at Mania, there's no real guaranteed storyline going into it at this point.
Right, with Taker, though, I think Taker's kind of one of those, you know, those elder statesmen where you don't really need a storyline for him. It kind of helps, but at the same time, I think you can get away with not having one. I mean, the thing last year with him and Shane was so thrown together and so sloppy.
It was.
You know,
you're right.
But they made it kind of work, maybe. I don't know. But I think anything would be better than what they did last year with him. So even if he's not like winning the Rumble this year, I think they're going to give him something to do.
It's funny. I've heard so many people say, "Oh, it's going to be him and Finn Balor." You know, I get it, but please, no, please.
Okay, now here's my call for the final four. I think the final five is going to be Jericho, Goldberg, Lesnar, Taker, and then like Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe or Miz. I don't know why I'm thinking between these two names. Anyway, those are my final five. But the last person of those is going to be cut, I think, is going to be Taker. So I think it's going to be down to Goldberg, Lesnar, Jericho, and Miz/Joe. Let's just say Samoa Joe. And I think what's going to happen is Chris Jericho is going to win it because, you know, he was my pick several weeks ago. Then when he won the U.S. title and Undertaker made his announcement, I was given pause. But I would have to say, just thinking about it, Jericho makes the most sense because right now, his and Kevin Owens' story is the one that has gone the longest. It has had the most progression to it. You've seen the seeds of dissension being thrown in there every once in a while. They've backed off on it, but now they're going to bring it back. Jericho wins the Rumble. He fights Kevin Owens for the championship at WrestleMania. That's going to allow several more weeks of build. As long as we're giving him accolades that he hasn't had before. They gave him the U.S. title, you know, a couple weeks ago for the first time. Let's have him win the Royal Rumble for the first time, too. Why not? And the thing is, the last few years have shown us anything. We can all be optimistic and hopeful and cheery about what's going to happen in the Rumble match, and then cold, hard reality slaps us in the face, or Bro kicks us in the face, or Superman punches us in the face, or pedigrees us in the face. Do you get what I'm saying here? Usually the end result of what they go for is the opposite of what we want.
And so, who is that person in this scenario? I'm just interested to know who would you definitely not want to see win, other than James Ellsworth?
Maybe Goldberg, Lesnar, the people who but that's not even me hating them. I would just say I don't expect either of them to win the Rumble, and I would be most disappointed if they did. Well, those are our thoughts for the Royal Rumble this Sunday. Like I said, it's a very exciting time. We don't know where things are going to go. You know, Vince McMahon changes his mind like the wind. It could, you know, what he thinks is going to happen at Mania today could change drastically tomorrow, and that all begins at the Royal Rumble. The seeds are planted officially for the Royal Rumble. Let us know who you think is going to win and lose in the Royal Rumble this year. What surprise entrance you expect to see? Who you think your final four and your winner for the Rumble match is going to be in the comments section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it. Subscribe to Wrestling with Regret and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. For J Biggs, I'm Brian Zane, and we'll see you next time.